And a good Sunday morning to you, everyone. I'm Terry Wood. Our program today is about something we all do, or at least should do. I'm talking about budgets. We have a family budget, perhaps. It's fairly simple. Just make sure you don't spend more than you're taking in. Businesses do budgets too. That's a little more complicated. And government has to do budgets, and that's even more complicated yet, because everyone pays into it and everyone wants a piece of the pie. Well, today we're going to find out how those budgets are decided. And we're going to meet a couple of county commissioners who will give us firsthand advice. First of all, let's get a little background. Here's Cameron Porter.
When a county is working on a budget, it's no joke. It is a very complicated process, and it's a very long process. It takes an entire year to craft a budget for the coming year. So exactly what goes into the process? Well, we decided that we would go undercover as a Sunday morning local government TV show about county governments to find out from Davis County what they go through every year to craft their budget.
The level of detail included in the budget is very high, even when compared to a typical corporation.
The facilities guy comes in and says, all right, your lights, your heating, that sort of thing, here's your allocation for the year. Telephone's the same thing. The IT department, they input as far as computer time is concerned. So when we're grinding statistics, or we're inputting data, or we're drawing data, or we're printing documents from the computer, that all goes into figuring computer time.
So we decided we'd try to get the most important information for citizens of counties to know. We interviewed the county assessor, the recorder, and clerk auditor to find out what they do and where they fit in the budgeting process.
Our job in the assessor's office is to value all of the properties in the county. We take all that data that we've accumulated and then we run it through our statistical model, and then by May 22nd we've completed that and we submit that.
Our primary function is to assure the assessor as to property ownership and property size, so that the taxing notices get sent to the right people.
So in Davis County, the clerk auditor serves as the budget officer for the county. And so we go through and compile the data, and before November 1st, we're required to present a tentative budget to the commissioners.
So the recorder keeps track of the exact size of all real property in the county and submits that information to the assessor. The assessor takes that information along with a lot of other data and makes a valuation of each and every property within the county boundaries. The clerk auditor then balances a budget proposal with a projection of how much revenue the county can expect from property taxes and makes recommendation to the commissioners, who make decisions about whether taxes need to be raised or services need to be cut.
As a county, we can only receive in tax dollars what we did the year before. So it's a common misperception that my home value went up so the county got more money. No, your home value went up, and assuming that everybody else's did as well, that tax rate is going to go down and we're going to get that dollar amount.
Our goal, our desire is to make this tax as fair and equitable as possible. So when we dig our heels in on an appeal and say, no, we can't see that it's worth any less than what we've got it, it's really because we want it to be fair for everybody in the county.
Well, it looks like our undercover operation was a success. We got a lot of details on how Davis County goes through their budgeting process, and we hope that we covered the most important things that you felt you wanted to understand about the budgeting process that a county goes through. For the county seat, I'm Cameron Porter.
All right, thank you very much, Cameron. In just a moment, we're going to meet commissioners from Davis and Uinta County and find out exactly what they're facing. We'll be right back.
When the road takes you farther than you knew possible, when the world is more beautiful than you've ever seen, when home is more comfortable than it should be, this is when you know you're in Kane County. The perfect mix of rural and urban, culture and adventure. Glendale, Orderville, Kanab, Bigwater, small towns with more to offer than just peace and quiet. Kane County, Utah. Find the new you.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. reservation, skin starvation, that Duchesne County life.
The Utah Farm Bureau has always been there to fight for the needs of its members, with discount programs on items ranging from vehicles and ATVs to health and wellness. The membership fees aren't big, but the results are. We've been around since 1916, and we're not leaving anytime soon. Utah Farm Bureau. We work for those who work to feed the world.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's introduce our guest for today. We're going to teach us all about budgeting. On the far side here is Jim Smith. He is a Davis County Commissioner. And next to me is Mike McKee, a Uinta County Commissioner. And Mike, you've been on this program a lot before, so you know how it works. How about budgeting? Do you know how that works?
Well,
how is it?
You know, budgeting's it's a very interesting process. It's quite comprehensive. It takes a lot of work. We usually start in about September, and we don't really finalize until December. But we're pretty well know where we're at in November. So,
do you think it's the most important thing you do in Uinta County as a commissioner, your budget?
You know, for me, I don't think it's the most important, but it's right up there. I mean, there's so many things that commissioners are involved in. It's hard to say what is the most important, but it's certainly very, very important because budget and money directs everything that you do.
So you start it in September, you have it done by December. You say your county, Jim, is about 10 times the population of Uinta County.
Yeah.
Does it take you that long too? Or
oh yeah. Matter of fact, we've already started the budget process for 2017.
Oh, you're kidding.
And it is a long and arduous process. And whether it's the question you asked Mike, whether it's the most important, I think the public perceives it as one of the most important things we do, because they really are concerned about the efficiency of government and making sure we deliver the services. And so, yeah, I'd have to say it's one of the most important things we do, but it is a long and arduous process.
And you're budgeting their money, the public's
Absolutely.
money there, so you've probably got a lot of input every time you go through it.
Yeah, it's not hard to get input from people on the budgeting process. Most of them have general feelings, but don't get into the specifics, and that's where the challenge comes. There's so many things that a county has to provide that it just makes it difficult for the public to really get a feel for the magnitude of the complexity. I had a career in corporate America doing $1 million budgets and $1 billion budgets. And you know what? This is more complex than anything I've seen in the private sector.
I would imagine. You find that pretty much true in Uinta County also?
You know, it's the same no matter the size of the budget. In our county, the total valuation of our county is about $6 billion.
$6 billion.
That's our total valuation. And so it's extremely important. And I want to just interject one thing that was said also. Actually, the budgeting process has begun, because every county, every school district, anybody that's collecting property taxes had to determine whether they're going to go through the certified tax rate or whether they're going to increase or decrease taxes. And so that begins the budgeting process right there, because that's going to make a difference moving forward.
Is that your budget amount to $6 million? Did you say $1 billion? I mean,
$6 billion.
$6 billion.
That's the valuation. That's the total valuation of your county.
So what is your budget then?
Well, then it depends on tax rates and all those different things. There's a lot of complication. It's very complex. We get into that a little bit, but you know, our total budget in Uinta County is about $70 million. $70 million. But if you take in, you know, the real budget, it's probably closer to $30 million. There's a lot of pass-through funds and different things that go through that.
We'll have to get into that in just a moment. Explain the real budget as opposed to the pass-through funds. What's your budget up there?
Our numbers come in about $115 million. You know, so it's a lot of money to be spending. And like Mike said, there's some money that just passes through, but nonetheless, we still have to account for that and make sure that it's all accounted and gets to the right area where it should be.
And everybody, as we said, has an opinion. How many departments do you have to satisfy?
Wow, I've never put a pencil to it. You know, there's 7 elected officials, and so each one of those departments we do budgets for. And then there's everything from animal control to the behavioral health to everything else. It's a process that takes an awful long time because you want input from every one of those.
You pretty much have the same number of departments?
Yeah, you know what, and for us, we'll probably get into this a little bit more, but you know, the budgets that probably the highest budgets relate to public safety and our roads and public services, and obviously personnel. That's your number one expenditure item usually.
And that runs true throughout all counties.
Right, and the state and federal government and everybody.
Well, I want to hear about these pass-through funds, and I also want to talk to you about how your budget has maybe changed over recent years as the economy has changed too. We'll be back in a moment with that.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers, Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, ghost towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse races, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Color. It's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
We're back again. We're talking about budgets and how counties go through the process. Today in the county seat, our guests are Davis County Commissioner Jim Smith and Uintah County Commissioner Mike McKee. During the commercial break there, Mike and I were talking about, you probably heard the term, truth in taxation. And this is an interesting concept. Would you explain it, Mike?
Yeah, real quickly. Anytime you see in the notices that a county government or a school district or any entity that collects property taxes is going through truth in taxation, that means a tax increase is being proposed. And I've been a commissioner 14 years. We did that one time as we were building a new safety complex. It was about a $39 per household average. I committed then, I never want to do it again. It's not something that elected officials really want to go through. Sometimes there's really not a lot of choice. Sometimes you're just, you really don't have a lot of choice. But the idea is, so this time of year, just like we've gone through, you have the opportunity to go through, the elected officials will choose to go through either the certified tax rate, which means you will not collect $1 more than you did last year.
That's called certified.
And that's when you go through the certified tax rate. Okay. And that's, in our case, in Uintah County, we did that, except we lowered our total amount by $300,000 this year. But in other entities, should they decide that they need additional money, they will have to post it. It'll end up in the papers, and they will go through what they call truth in taxation. And it'll publicly disclose what that average amount would be on a typical household.
And is that the same for each of your municipal service districts too, that maybe have to increase fees? Do they call that truth in taxation if they have to increase, say, the water fees?
Yes,
or so?
Anybody that's collecting property tax will need to do that. And in most areas of the state, the school districts are the largest collector of property taxes in the state. I know, for example, in Uena County, we're about 20 to 25% in local government is the amount of property tax. The school districts, have the biggest amount. So the thing I like to let everybody know is, like, if they don't like their property tax, blame the school district, even though we do collect it. Don't.
Yeah, and in Davis County, it's 18%. The county accounts for 18% of the property tax bill that people pay. But because the county is given the job of collecting it and processing it and distributing it, people just seem to think it's the county that is the bad guy.
And again, the heat all falls on your shoulders.
It tends to go to the commissioners, yes.
Now, I said that kind of in jest, but I have to really appreciate our school district. Let me tell you what's happened out in eastern Utah. Oil and gas is down.
Yeah, the economy.
We lost over $1 billion in valuation this year.
Wow.
And so that's one of the reasons why not only are we not doing truth in taxation, we found a way to lower our numbers. And our local school district has done the same and decided not to look for retiring some debts that they had. And that's greatly appreciated, where particularly a lot of our businesses, in our home, and a lot of people are hurting, to do everything we can to try and keep the tax rates down.
With a $1 billion loss in valuation, are you able to keep your service at the same level?
Well, that's the difficulty. See, now the idea with certified tax rate is, and let me just explain this real quickly. What happens, we've got a lot of centrally assessed, which is a lot of your oil and gas. So as that value goes down to bring in the same money you did last year, somebody else is going up. And that's typically going to be businesses and homes. And so you have to find a way to try and balance that, hold that down, and to the very question you asked, and try to maintain services. And so it is very complicated, and it's difficult, and you get pulled in a lot of directions. But we do try to represent the public to the very best that we can.
And I know all counties, everyone I know in a county leadership position is a big fan of truth in taxation and transparency and the open meeting laws. But boy, one of the first things I noticed that coming out of the private sector was that it brings with it a touch of inefficiency too. The first week I was there, we were approached to sponsor a CDA. Community development area for one of our cities. Well, they had to sit down with me for 45 minutes to explain it, and then they sat down with Commissioner Petroff, and then they sat down with Commissioner Milburn, because we can't have all three of us in the same meeting at the same time to discuss budgets.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. Why couldn't the three of you gone together? And now I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because now that's a violation of open meeting laws. And I'm fully in favor of it, as long as people know it carries with it a bit of an inefficiency that makes it a little bit challenging for us to be nimble, I'll use that word.
What, you don't have to name the company, what type of business were you in before?
I was in the banking industry for several decades, and with some small banks and with some big banks. And so I got used to finance, and I think people, one of the reasons I think they elected me is I've had budget experience in big businesses. So, but it's sure been unique because it's a different drill. In the commercial world, you have two things you can work with. You can reduce expenses, you can raise revenues. Well, as Mike was saying, raising revenues in the government segment is a really, really hard process, and we do everything we possibly can to not be raising taxes and things like that. And we're kind of proud. I know Davis County's had a good record. We're kind of the lowest, the most efficient county, the lowest taxes per popula, lowest taxes per capita of all 29 counties right now. And everybody says that's great, but oh, that's hard to keep, because the real key is, can we deliver the services? People say, well, just make yourself more efficient and let somebody go. Well, this is hard. We've got a lot of services. Mike mentioned law enforcement. We have the courts. We have animal control. It goes through a whole long list. And you say, well, gee, I don't use that service. Well, I know maybe you don't, but maybe 100,000 people of your neighbors do. And there's some important changes we need to be watching in the environment.
Can I give an example of that? You know, several years ago, there was a prisoner escaped from the Daggett County Jail. And in doing so, it really created a lot of nervousness in our community. You know, where are they going to be? Where are they going to come? And so jails are one of the things that we have stewardship over, and the protection of the safety of our public. And there's a lot of things that we just take for granted in our communities. There's just so many things: search and rescue, emergency management, being able to have a law officer show up at our home at a moment's notice if need be. There's so many of these things that we just come to depend on, and it's a wonderful thing we have, and sometimes we don't recognize the value of that until we don't have it, or should we not have it.
Well, what percentage would you say the Sheriff's Department's budget is of your overall budget in Uintah County?
Well, again, it depends on which budget, but if you take the jail and the Sheriff's Office, I would say probably about a seventh, probably right around 1/7 of our budget.
What do you think it is in Davis County?
It's more like 52. I mean, it's
52%.
It is a huge part of our budget.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, we
They've
have
got a lot more crime out there.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
The jail is complex. All the law enforcement aspects, and then coordinating. And besides, our sheriffs also do a large portion of not just search and rescue, but also the EMTs, emergency medical, is handled through our Sheriff's Department. Very complex operation.
And everybody wants a good response time too when they're talking about police and fire and EMTs. And
I remember Commissioner Petroff said, nobody wants to buy $1 million fire truck until it's your house on fire, and then you want that best equipment.
You know, that's a very good way of putting it. I haven't thought of that analogy before. Well, we're going to also find out in just a few minutes how you, the public, can get involved in this process. I'm sure you want more of that, but we'll find out when we come back in just a moment.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
Shopping in Davis County has never been better. Experience Station Park, Northern Utah's premier gathering place for shopping, dining, and entertainment. With over 100 shops, Station Park is something for the whole family. Or explore the shopping possibilities this season under one roof at the Layton Hills Mall. Both are conveniently located north of downtown Salt Lake, just off I-15. Come take advantage of special discounts and a wide selection of stores. Visit playindavis.com for more info.
I was just telling Mike McKee, as tough as this is with budgeting and the citizen input, he's been elected for 14 years, re-elected, so you must be doing a good job when it comes to those budgets.
Well, I hope so, but you know, we do our best.
When we talk about property taxes coming into the cap, but there are other revenue streams too that figure into this, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, property tax, at least in our county, is probably our biggest source of revenue, but we also have sales tax. We also have user fees, and so when you take all the revenues combined, you bring that all together, and then it gives us our complete budget and our complete package, and that's what we use as we develop our budget, and then we have to live within that budget. That's the important thing too, is living within our budgets.
Oh. Yeah, that's the big question.
Right.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, there's some other things Mike mentioned earlier about money that flows through the county.
The pass-through money.
Pass-through money, and for example, the state will pass some legislation that will designate so many millions of dollars to go to behavioral health, let's say. Mm-hmm. It gets divided up among the counties. Well, in our case, it goes to us and immediately is paid to contract we have with Davis Behavioral Health. Now, our county is a little different, but everyone, the money flows through to the right place. Maybe it's federal or state prisoners in our jails. There's all kinds of money.
Jails, is that pass-through money too?
Yeah, the money comes to us, and then it gets used appropriately. So not everything we do comes from property tax. There's also some money that comes through the state and federal. So.
We built a reservoir for water storage a few years ago, and it was a fairly good federal project. And again, we were the sponsor, UNT County was, and so that money flowed from the federal government into our budget, but it was simply a pass-through. It was just simply a pass-through.
So you've got to have your budget completed by December 1st, you say?
Well, it's by the end of the year, but we.
It's a calendar year.
But we have a preliminary budget that usually is pretty close to what we do, and we usually do that towards in November-ish, early December.
So we're right here in the middle of July. You got almost half a year left. What would you tell the citizens of your counties, both of you, in the minute that we have left here, how to get involved in this process?
Getting involved is not that hard. Come to some meetings. Everything we have is an open meeting, and even if you can't come to the meetings, they're recorded, they're online. They have access to all of this information, but give us a call. Talk to us. Say, I'm nervous about this, and or I've looked at the financials and I have this question. We really do want to have that input. We feel like we have kind of the inside track, but we want that input.
And I would just echo that. Please be engaged. We try our best to hear and listen to what the citizens want, and there is that fine line between staying within the budget and providing the services. And it's just very important that we hear from the public, and then we need to listen. That's the other side, is we need to make sure we're listening.
But then not everybody thinks you've listened to their specific concern when you've come up with that final budget.
Because everybody thinks their issue is the most important, and to them it is. And we
have to balance that.
And we have to try and balance that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you've been doing a good job. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You've given us some insight today, and thank you for joining us on The County Seat.
If you'd like to share this video with your friends, well, you do that right here. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you do that over here. If you'd like to interact with us on The County Seat, that happens over here. If you want to watch the next episode of The County Seat, you can catch it Saturday night at 11 or Sunday morning at 8:30 on ABC4 Good for Utah.